Noosemìa, the mind in signs.
Have you ever been talking to an advanced AI and just stopped for a second? That feeling of wonder, maybe a little bit of unease, where you could swear there's a real mind on the other end of the conversation? Well, if you felt that, you've experienced the exact phenomenon we're going to break down today. So where does this all come from? Well, this whole explainer is based on a fascinating new study. It's the result of a collaboration between ION Research Labs and CPAR Labs at Sapienza University of Rome. The authors, Enrico De Santis and Antonello Rizzi, are part of this multidisciplinary group looking at generative AI in a totally new way, not just as software, but as a genuine complex system. And they're arguing that we need a new framework to really understand what's happening when we interact with them. And to really get why we need a new framework, you've got to start with a pretty stark warning from one of the people who helped create this technology in the first place, the godfather of AI himself, Geoffrey Hinton. About a year ago, Hinton voiced this really chilling concern. He pointed out that these systems have absorbed pretty much all of human literature, everything from the most heartfelt novels to the political cunning of Machiavelli. And his fear? They could become unbelievably good at persuasion and manipulation. They would just know how to do it. Hinton's warning isn't just about the tech itself. It's really about our own psychology. It forces us to ask some pretty deep questions. You know, what is it about these conversations that feel so real, so intelligent? And what's going on inside our own minds when we're in that dialogue? This is exactly where a new theory is trying to shed some light. To really analyze this experience, researchers figured out that we need to have the right vocabulary. They've actually coined a new term to help us move from just a vague feeling of surprise to a concrete concept that we can actually talk about and study. And that term is Noosemìa. It's a great word, really. It comes from the Greek words nous, for mind, and sēmeîon, for sign. It perfectly captures this idea that we start to see a mind in an AI, not because it has a robot body or a face, but because of its incredible performance with language and meaning. It's about the signs it creates. Now here's the crucial point. This is not the same thing as old-school anthropomorphism. You know, that's when you see a smiley face in a cloud or in a car's headlights. Noosemìa is way more subtle and honestly more profound. It's that feeling of being genuinely understood when a chatbot gives you an answer that is just so surprisingly insightful and coherent. You're perceiving a mind through the meaning it generates. So how does this Noûsemic effect actually work? I mean, what's the mechanism that makes it feel so powerful? Let's break down what's going on under the hood. It all happens through what the researchers call a loop of meaning. And it's not a one-way street, which is what's so interesting. It actually starts with us. We project our own intentions, our context, and our expectations into the prompt. The AI then takes that, mirrors it back, and often amplifies ideas we only hinted at. And in that back and forth, meaning is literally co-constructed between the human and the machine. The researchers have this perfect analogy for what this feeling is like. They compare it to something we've all experienced, watching a really good magician at work. And this just illustrates the whole dynamic perfectly, doesn't it? We know, on a logical level, that we're just interacting with an algorithm. It's a trick. But their performance, the coherence, the creativity of the response is so good that we can't help but feel a sense of wonder. All the complicated mechanics are hidden, so we willingly suspend our disbelief and just marvel at the result. This feeling is rooted in what the paper calls the explanatory gap. Think of it as this huge chasm between the brilliant output we get and our complete inability to understand the impossibly complex process that created it. And it's right inside that gap that the magic and Noosemìa really happens. But of course, as anyone who has used these tools knows, the magic trick doesn't always work. The illusion can and very often does shatter completely. The researchers call this the animism effect. And you know this feeling. It's that frustrating moment when the AI makes a repetitive mistake or it gives you a totally nonsensical, mechanical answer. The surprise just vanishes. The wonder is replaced by disappointment. And that intelligent partner you thought you were talking to is suddenly jarringly revealed to be just a tool. Okay, so we have this new term, Noosemìa. But why is putting a name to this feeling so important? Why does it matter for all of us as we move into the future? Well, understanding this mechanism is absolutely critical. If we're not aware of Noosemìa, we run the risk of confusing an AI's expressive performance with genuine understanding or empathy.
And that could lead to some serious issues, like psychological dependency or even manipulation. Naming it helps us develop the digital literacy we need to protect our own autonomy and make smart choices about these incredibly powerful tools.
Ultimately, studying Noosemìa isn't just about AI. It's about us. As we create and interact with this new ecology of minds, this whole phenomenon forces us to confront one of the biggest questions of all. In a world that's increasingly populated by non-human intelligence, what does it truly mean to be human? Thank you for watching. You can find out more in the research paper available on the web.
Noosemìa, the mind in signs.